In our show today, do South Africans know what they are covered for? The best and the worst car insurance, and what to do once you get involved in a car accident. Indumelang Bagaetsu and welcome to Consumer Guard, the show that's on the lookout for South African consumers. Today we'll be discussing the car insurance industry. Now from the worst to the best, and speaking to some law experts on this topic. Now first up though, here's how the people of Mzansi feel about car insurance.
The car insurances, they'll need any reason not to pay.
That insurance actually, damn, sucks.
As we speak at the moment, we are being ripped off by insurance companies. I mean, they'll just increase prices ridiculously.
With the current economy of South Africa on a rapid decline and owning a car being somewhat cheaper than using public transport in some instances, the cost of a car, be it new or second-hand, may incur high payments and may therefore be best insured to secure your asset. A new model of vehicle will generally attract a high insurance premium, as repairing it will also require a hefty amount. Even though most motorists have car insurance to reduce the stress of hassling cash in a sudden need, insurance comes with its fair amount of nuisance when claiming.
You will claim they'll give you a courtesy car, but they'll fix your car probably after 3 months, and the courtesy car is only for 30 days. Then after 30 days, you have to pay from your own pocket going forward because you have to go to work.
Yeah, I can say it's good, but it's 50-50. It's good in this way. If you got your car written off, you'll be paid the money, but even though it's not going to be the worth of that car, the full amount. At the same time, it's bad, it's not good, because you're not going to get the full amount of your car, the worth of it. Yeah.
Some, on the other hand, say their correspondence with the insurance has been effortless as they get speedy assistance from the insurance.
Currently I'm with Outsurance, and I've been with them for quite a while, and I've never had any problems claiming from them.
I'm with Discovery. I've had no problems at all. Very easy to claim from them. Very quick service, no problems at all.
No, I don't have. I'm with Outsurance for almost 8 to 9 years. I think I've claimed 3 or 4 times, no issues whatsoever. So it's working for me. Yeah.
I'm with Holland at this stage, and yeah, they've been very helpful. I haven't had an accident yet, and I've only had this car for 6 months, but yeah, full coverage if I do come in an accident. So.
Most customers fail to read the fine print when it comes to their insurance contracts, something that could lead to claims being rejected if one is not careful.
When it comes to the legalities of what you think you are covered for and what you are actually covered for, it is worthwhile for consumers to read through their contracts, as this will save them the headaches. We spoke to AA Insurance's Public Relations Manager, Mr. Leto Beard, who tells us about some of the common issues that consumers may not be aware of and disputes that may arise when involved in a car accident.
The most common mistake is that customers don't disclose or give the wrong information when they call in for a quote. And that makes it very difficult to give a reliable quote. So if any customers are phoning in to get quotes from any insurers, they need to give the correct and the full information and not withhold any information from the person who they are getting a quote from. Another big issue is that customers often don't inform their insurers if they, for instance, have changed addresses, or if their contact details have changed, or for instance, if their profession has changed, or if they've changed jobs, because that is quite important information for the insurer to also know.
One of the complaints from the consumers is that insurance companies make it hard for them to understand the terms and conditions of their contracts.
I think it is, and it is also an FAIS requirement, a legal requirement, that contracts are easy to understand and easy to read. But again, if a consumer has an issue, they need to discuss that with the insurer, and they need to go through that contract very carefully. They need to read it through very carefully, and if there's anything that they don't understand or that they're confused about, they need to ask and they need to clarify. One of them may be that there is an excess that needs to be paid on a car claim. So for instance, you will be covered in the event of a crash, but to have that repaired may cost 5,000 Rand, but you will need to pay a portion up front because you're claiming, and that portion may be 500 Rand. And that's something that some people don't understand, that an excess is something that people do need to pay. Sometimes it works that the higher the excess, the lower your premiums. The higher your premiums, the lower your excess. So this is something that you need to discuss with your insurer.
Although some consumers know what they're covered for, some still make the mistake of not reading the fine print, which leaves them in unpleasant situations when it's time to claim.
Generally, yes, they are covered, but there are some instances where consumers and people who are insured think that the insurance covers a lot of different things that in fact aren't covered. So people may think that if their car breaks down on the side of the road and it's a mechanical fault, that that's something that they can claim for. Insurance covers an unexpected and sudden incident, like a crash. It doesn't cover the wear and tear of the vehicle, and that's something that insurance companies do tell the customers, but obviously the customers need to read that in their contracts as well and be aware of the fact that the wear and tear of your vehicle is not covered by your insurer.
One of the problems consumers encounter when they are involved in a car accident is the struggle of being sent from pillar to post by insurance companies and having disputes about who is liable for paying the excess.
So if you're involved in a crash and it wasn't your fault, then the person who is at fault is liable for the damages, and that may include the excess as well. And that would be something that obviously your insurance company will need to sort out with that person who was at fault in that crash situation. So it's very important that you give all the correct information, not only to the police but also to your insurance company, who will then pursue that claim on your behalf. I just want to make the point though that in South Africa only between 35% and 40% of vehicles on the road are insured. And that's a very worrying figure, because obviously if you are involved in an accident or a crash with another vehicle that is not insured, all of the damages and the claims, even if that person was at fault, may come back on your shoulders if that other person is unable to pay for that damage.
Ever wondered which insurer is the best and the worst in our country? Well, carinfo.co.za have put together that information. Now let's take a look on who came out tops.
According to carinfo.com, a total of 9,784 complaints were made against short-term insurers in 2015. Out of these complaints, 48% were laid against motor insurance companies.
Well, I'll address some of the more interesting categories. We did review 6 categories in total, but as you can see, if you look at the graphs in the article that we published on the website, it's carinfo.co.za, it's interesting to see the companies at each end of the spectrum for each of the categories. I'll give you an example. in the companies that got the most 5-star ratings, which is a positive rating, it's the highest compliment, you see MyWay and Discovery and then Momentum on the left side with the most 5-star ratings. In the conversion category, which is basically means clients or consumers that complained and then the company managed to give them a satisfying solution, so they converted them into compliments, you see Momentum leading the way with Sanlam and then Auto and General following afterwards. And although there are 4 other categories, I'll mention just one more, which seems to be an important category to most of us, which is the response time, because no one likes waiting days on end for your insurance company to get back to you. With actually some companies who weren't responding at all to clients' complaints, which of course is something that none of us would be interested in.
We spoke to Kevin Tace, the owner of Reliant Insurance Brokers, who spoke to us about how insurance companies operate and what they're looking for in profiling a customer and tailor-making cover that is suitable for their needs.
Very, very important factors. The age of a driver makes quite a lot of difference in terms of what the premium they're going to pay. Mainly insurers are profiled over the years that younger drivers are more at risk because they're single, they go out every night, they go visiting, and they tend to go to pubs and things like that, and maybe, I'm not saying always, but sometimes take a chance on driving when they've had a bit too much to drink. So all these factors have been taken into consideration when an insurer rates an individual. There are 5 main rating criteria where an insurer rates a person for insurance. The first criteria is obviously his age. The next one is previous claims experience, so they have a look at what claims they've had in the last 5 years. And then the next one is your area you live in, because there are certain high-risk areas and so on. And also with the area you're living in, and also whether the car is in a locked garage, parked in the open, etc. Because if the car's parked in the open, it can be subject to hail damage, theft, etc., etc. So the rate does go up when you have a car parked in the open. And then your next criteria obviously is the type of car. You've got high performance cars that attract a higher rate, and certain cars like an M3 with a young driver would be virtually uninsurable. Most insurers won't touch an M3 with a 20-year-old driver behind the wheel. So again, when a person buys a car, they must consider whether they can get insurance for that car. It's actually very, very important.
He also spoke about some of the common details that consumers need to know and break down the different types.
Let's take them in one at a time. The first cover is obviously your comprehensive cover, where the vehicle is covered for accident, theft, all sorts of other damages like hail damage, wind, snow. So it virtually covers all sorts of accidental damage to the vehicle. In that cover there are certain exclusions which won't cover, for instance, mechanical wear and tear or mechanical damage. It will cover only accidental damage to the vehicle. And then there are also other extensions or restrictions on the comprehensive cover. Extensions on the comprehensive cover will be things like where you can, if you want repatriation of your vehicle, if you travel a lot from outside the country into the country, etc. So you can take various extensions on the cover. So that's the comprehensive cover, gives you all these wide-ranging covers on the car. Your third-party fine theft cover covers what I've just said: your third-party damage, your damage to third-party property, and injury to third parties. And the theft side of it covers you for if your vehicle is stolen, but it excludes all the other comprehensive covers like accidental damage to the car and to your personal property in the car, etc. The third type of cover is third party only, which covers just the third party liability, as I've discussed, and it covers nothing to do with your car whatsoever. So those are the different covers that are on the market. There's extensions and variations to that, but those are the main basic covers. I just might add that I feel that third-party cover should be a compulsory type of cover in South Africa. It's compulsory in most countries in the world.
Who do you rate as the best and the worst car insurer? Share your thoughts with us on twitter.com@consumer_guard_. We are also available on Facebook, and our page is simply @ANN7 Consumer Guard. Now it's time for us to take a break. When we return, we find out what to do in an event of an accident. Plus, we also chat to the Assistant Short-Term Insurance Ombudsman. Stay tuned.